Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette C8. This is a coupe with the 2LT package. Huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing this vehicle for me today. Take a look at their website. That link is down in the description below. So this C8 is finished off in red mist metallic. MSRP is just over $85,000. Now this is powered by a mid-engine 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. It's paired to an 8-speed dual clutch automatic, and it pumps out 495 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,300-pound sports car from 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. Top speed is 194 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 18.5 gallons. You'll expect to see 19 miles per gallon in the city, 27 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 107.2 inches. Its overall length is 182.3. It has a width of 76.1, a height of 48.6, and its ground clearance measures in at 5 inches. Now for the 25-year model, there's not too many significant differences compared to the 2024. There's a few new colors and a few new interior features when you get the Z51 package. So this is more of a basic Stingray, but it still has a lot to offer. So up front, this does have LEDs for all of the lighting with a really nice design for the housing. The housings themselves match well with the bodywork to give it a sleek and slim design. You'll notice there's the Corvette badge right in the middle, along with some angular lines that go up the hood there. And then you'll also notice there's 2 cameras up front, a lot of gloss black, there's sensors too, and plenty of cutouts to provide cooling to all the components that are located up front. Now, with this being a mid-engine vehicle, you do get storage up front. You can use the button on the key fob, or there's a hidden button up underneath on the driver's side. So when you push on that, it will electronically release the front, which I think is a really helpful design, so you don't have to take the key out or search for it. And you actually get a good bit of space up front. There's also a 12-volt too if you need to use it, so this is practical for additional storage. And then this also has a soft close for the 25-year model, so you don't have to slam that front hood. Now, as we work our way to the side, this has a really nice design for the wheels, along with the silver stripe running around the outside. There's also gloss black for the brake calipers. Now, this also has a 2-tone design. You get body colored for the mirror caps. The base is gloss black, and of course, these have a turn signal. Now, it might be a little bit hard to tell, but the passenger mirror actually sticks out farther than the driver's side. So they are asymmetrical, but that just helps with added visibility over the back end of this vehicle. And then, as you can tell, I currently have the Targa top off for this coupe. I think it has a great look to it. And then you'll notice some more angular lines running down the side and a massive vent just behind both doors. So that's an inlet to provide additional cooling to the engine. And then there's a large rear fender arch there, especially with that line there, just giving it a prominent point. Now, this model also has a very slim body colored spoiler. There's a backup camera, all of the LEDs, along with a sequential turn signal. And then in the lower section, there's also more gloss black, along with the quad tip dual exhaust. Now, this also has remote start, so you can use the key fob. Just lock the vehicle, double tap this. Let's bring that V8 to life. And then if you just hold on that button, that is how you can shut the vehicle off. And then you do have the controls for that front storage. You have one for the rear trunk too, or there's a hidden button underneath the first E. So that way you can use that as well. And then, as you can tell, we have the top in at the moment. Now, you might be able to place in some smaller items up underneath it, but Chevrolet states that you can fit 2 golf bags in the back, and we have tried that in the past. And that's just something that they advertise, so just for reference with the amount of space that you do get. However, when you have the top in, of course, that does eliminate it a little bit. And then you have access to the engine. Now, the rear also has a soft close, so you can just latch it and it will close down or clamp down from there. Now, as we work our way to the interior, this entire trim accent actually has the handle. So underneath, just pull on the electronic release, and that's how you can open up the door. Where this model has Bose for the audio, there's also a lot of brushed aluminum accents, memory seating adjustments, power folding side mirrors, window controls. You have lock and unlock, the electronic release, and then you can electronically open up the front and the rear storage. There's also a little bit of storage underneath that. And then down in the footwell, this is the manual release. So if the battery dies or any other reason you can't use the electronic release, that is a safety in order to get out. Now, this 2LT also has a really nice set of seats with carbon fiber accents, and then more adjustments down on the side for their automatic adjustments. Now this is a low vehicle, but it's pretty easy to get into, where you'll notice that this has a flat top and bottom design for the leather steering wheel. There's also massive paddle shifters, and then let's fire this up again, get some revs with that V8. And coming back to the digital gauge cluster now, you'll notice the tach right in the middle, along with miles per hour, what gear you're in, and then there's some information to the left and the right side. Now you can further go through that with controls on the right side of the steering wheel, where there's also volume, and then Bluetooth voice commands and the heated steering wheel. But if I start scrolling now, you can pull up all this information on that right side, and you can scroll through everything within each one of them. There's also a simple screen or a simplified screen, so that way if you don't want to show any information, you can go into that. But if we go into performance now, you have a lot of timers that you can look at along with your G-force meter, and then you also have different gauge cluster layouts. So if we go back into display design, you can scroll down and go into sport mode, so it will change slightly there. And then you also have track mode, so you can see a little bit different of a design with some more performance-oriented information. And then there's also a weather display too. So just depending on how you'd like to drive, you can set up a lot of different information in that digital gauge cluster. Now on the left side, there's favorites, cruise control settings, along with distance pacing, and then a Z button. That will allow the exhaust to get louder, and you can also configure how you would like that to set up. So just by pushing on a Z, you'll notice that appear on the infotainment system, where you'll be able to go through a few different settings here depending on how you want the vehicle to react. So you have 4 different settings there, which is nice. Now over on the left side, there's head-up display controls along with the e-brake down below and 1 air vent. And with the head-up display, it's just showing miles per hour along with the speed limit sign. However, you can change that and go through. It'll be a little bit hard to see right now, but you have a few different settings there. You can pull up the tach as needed. Now with the infotainment system, it's also slightly angled towards your driver. So you'll notice there's a physical home button on this left side, so that way you can get into some apps here where you have the split view. In the lower section, there's also another home control, and that will allow you to get into all of these icons. So you can swipe over to the view we just saw, and then you can swipe back and go through all of these. There's even the performance data recorder that you can monitor, and you have a few others. There's also shortcuts to music, you can get into navigation, and a few other settings, even your phone over on that left side. Now there's 1 air vent underneath that. There's also a shortcut for this model for the forward-facing camera, so you can quickly pull that up as needed, and of course go through the rest of the angles depending on where you need to see. Now this model is also equipped with the front end lift, there's traction control, and then underneath this leather area, you have the toggle to go through different driving modes. So you have sport mode, there's also tour, you can get into my mode, which is customizable. There's also a weather mode too, and then we can go all the way back to track mode where you can have that set up too. And then here's the gear selector. So if I pull this middle section up, that is for reverse, so you can bring up the camera. Neutral is the button behind that. You pull up for drive, you push for the manual setting, and you also push for park. Now on this passenger side, you have a row of toggles for all of your climates. Now the upper section is for your passengers, lower section is for your driver. So once you figure out the split and where all the controls are, it's actually pretty easy to use. You have heated and ventilated seats as well, fan speed, where you'd like the air to go. It's actually pretty easy once you get that layout there. Now there's 2 cup holders in the middle, and then you do get a little bit of storage with auxiliaries in the center. You have wireless charging right in between both of the seats, and then push this button right in the middle to gain access to the glove box. Now this is also equipped with a digital rear view mirror, so that way it just aids in better visibility, especially with the pillars here. But honestly, for a mid-engine vehicle, it's not all that bad if you're not using that camera system. However, that is definitely beneficial and a nice tech feature to have. And with the top off, that doesn't hurt visibility at all. You still have a little bit over this side, of course, but with your mirrors and that camera system, it's easy to see. So getting behind the wheel now for the Chevrolet Corvette C8. This model has been out for several years now, so hopefully everyone is pretty familiar with this mid-engine Corvette from Chevrolet. This was the first ever Corvette that went mid-engine, and I think it's a really nice model. You have a lot of different features and options to go with. In the 2LT, we're basically right in the middle. So there's a 1LT, there's a 3LT, and then obviously you can go up to the Z06, which I have been able to film and review, which is a whole nother animal compared to this. You can also go with a full convertible too, so it's power operating rather than doing this manual manually. With the target top though, there's only 3 latches where you can pull the whole thing up, pop it in the trunk, or even leave it at home, so that way you can get the top down and some extra storage in the back. But it's a really nice vehicle. This is one that I was personally going to purchase. I had one on order. I decided to go a different route, but I think this is a fun vehicle nonetheless. Now, over the years that we have been able to film the C8s, we've had a lot of feedback from all those videos. So I just want to highlight a few of the major comments that we have seen in filming these videos. One is the pricing of them. When this vehicle first came out, they were going for well over MSRP because there was a wait. I think I was into mine a year and a half before I decided to cancel my deposit on one. And if a dealer had one, they were getting some good money for them because there was no supply. Now we have a supply of Corvettes for the C8s. A lot of dealerships have multiple Corvettes on their lots, and a lot of people associate that with bad sales. They're not selling. When in reality, dealers actually have inventory, so you can go to a Chevrolet dealership and you can take a look at several options in person rather than just speccing it online and hoping you're going to like it in person. So the markups, the demand for them, it doesn't seem as much as it used to be since dealers have lots, since the dealers have inventory now. And with this 2LT being in the mid $80,000 range, that's kind of what it's been over the last several years, especially when this model was first introduced. The starting MSRP was just shy of $60,000, so $59,900 and some change. In reality, you're spending 75, 80, 85 grand for a C8. When you want to get some nice options and a vehicle that is going to have a better resale value, no one is really buying a base 1LT with 0 options. So in reality, 75 to 85 grand is what you're going to expect for this sports car, which in today's market is pretty good, especially with the performance numbers that you can get out of this model. So let's pop it into the manual setting. We'll put it in Z mode so that exhaust got louder. And from second gear, here we go. Now there's only so much I can do right now with a brand new vehicle. It actually limits you to 3,500 RPM. So as the vehicle gets broken in, that will slowly disappear to where you can get higher to redline and really experience this. Now we also had a C8 for a whole week, so you can take a look at the full mountain review video we made, really testing its handling and its performance. This is a really good all-around daily driving kind of GT style car, more of a touring vehicle, but at the same time too, it gives you practicality and it gives you performance if you're looking for all of that in just one car. And we are still in sport mode, second gear. Here we go. Now a little underwhelming, of course, just because of what I can do today, but when you have the top off, when you're ripping it through the mountains, this sounds pretty good with the stock exhaust. Now, I had a friend who bought a C8 and he put on a different exhaust and it sounded like I think Chevrolet should have introduced this C8. It sounds much better when you can really open up that V8. And of course, if you go Z06, that exhaust is on a whole nother level. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the C8. Nothing too much has changed on the interior as far as just the technology and kind of the layout of everything. You do have a few different options with some of the different packages, stitching and cosmetics, things like that. So it's been fairly unchanged over the last several years. It's also a very easy car to maneuver, and this would be something that you can daily drive. I'm not sure how much attention these get out on the road, but when I see one in the right angle, you could think Ferrari, you could think McLaren, just depending on the angle, the lighting, how much of the car is being blocked. So I think it has that exotic look to it from a distance. From up close, it still looks great too. But it's just a really nice, well-rounded vehicle. And for the price, I don't think you can really complain. They seem to be priced pretty well for what you are getting into. Aside from the Z06 and any of those higher trim levels, which are going to cost significantly more, you can still get a basically supercar performance with a base C8. And let's do one last acceleration for today. What you can also do that I didn't mention earlier is you pull both paddles at once, and that is neutral. So you can rev and do it that way, which is pretty neat, especially with these. They're super responsive, really good size to them too. But that is going to wrap it up for the 2025 Chevrolet Corvette C8. Once again, huge shout out to Randy Marion Chevrolet for providing this for me today. Take a look at their website. That link is down in the description below. And if you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.